Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about these two rigs. This is going to be the Traxxas trx4m high trail. Now the high trail is going to sit a little bit taller than the regular trx4m. I'm pretty sure that comes in, I think, a Gladiator, Jeep, Toyota, no, Range Rover or Land Rover, and a Bronco. So those are going to sit a little bit lower. They don't have as long of a travel or as big as wheels. These are not stock wheels, so these are going to be a little bit smaller. These are Pro Lines beadlocks with TSL Super Swampers. With this bad boy, I do have the front and the rear brass weights from on the diff covers from Traxxas. I do have the brass hex nuts that actually seat onto the axle that you put a pin in, and then you slide the wheel on. That way it's not free spinning, because these diffs are locked. They're not limited slip. Now when we pop the hood, this is one thing I do like about the Traxxas. You got two pins, boom, boom, bang. We did go with the anodized blue aluminum shocks. Now, these are non-adjustable. I mean, of course, you can put like collars in there and adjust them, but there is no ring that is going to be able to screw down to adjust on the fly. Now, a downside with this vehicle is you're going to have to pop the whole top every single time you're trying to grab the battery out. The battery just plugs directly into the ESC. There is no on and off button. And if you do like a Pro Lights kit, you're going to have to just go through these buttons to adjust your lights. So I could see that kind of being a nuisance for some people. But I don't run the Pro Lights kit. I don't change any of the settings. I like having the drag brake. This thing runs phenomenal. It hasn't broke on me once, and I live really close to a hobby town, and they stock parts for this thing like no other, and the parts are pretty inexpensive. Another downside is this is a single speed transmission. Right now this has the regular just trail gear that it comes with. I do have the rock crawler gear motor combo. That's only about 40 bucks. I think the gears are only like $5 to $8. But if you get the whole combo, it's just easy plug and play. The only reason I haven't put the rock crawler gear in there is just because it is so slow. So if you can deal with just a little bit of whining from your ESC motor combo, it's not impossible to crawl this thing. We do have some scale accessories, jerry can, and a fire extinguisher. And for that, honestly, that's all I've done to this thing. It's been an outstanding vehicle. I cannot complain at all. I grew up on Traxxas stuff, and then I got into racing. Kind of got away from Traxxas because it was just like so basic, and then I picked this up for like $149, like $170 out the door, and I couldn't be happier. Put this thing in a backpack when I go to the beach, or if like a little hiking trail, or just fucking around at the house, man. It's fun. So this thing is a whole nother beast. So this is going to be a Toyota Land Cruiser LC80. This is fully licensed by Toyota. This is an FMS product. This is the first FMS product I've ever owned, and I'm kind of conflicted with it. I love a lot of things about it, but it has broken my heart. So first off, when I first got this thing, the gears that were in the back, in the differential stripped immediately. I mean, like within 5 to 7 minutes of using it. So I did contact customer support, and FMS sent me a full set of gears. So for the whole transmission, both the rear and the front differential, and it arrived at my doorstep in 2 days. So shout out to FMS on that. Good on you. And when I say that it has just broken my heart, it isn't because it's a bad vehicle, because it's an amazing vehicle. Just the support that I have around here, at least in Virginia, they don't carry these parts. So you have to order them, you have to wait, and if you're trying to drive it all the time, things are going to happen. Like for instance, these are not the original wheels. These are going to be bead locks from RC 4-wheel drive, linked to TSL Super Swampers by RC 4-wheel drive, completely licensed. But if you can see, there are hex pins that go around to assemble this 3-piece wheel. There's a piece in the back, a piece in the front, and then a ring. Those will have to sandwich together, and then you're going to put your final nut in the middle. Now the final nut is not going to go on all the way with a normal T-wrench. You're going to have to get some pliers out and fucking crank that bitch down, or this is going to happen. So I was out driving this and the wheel came off. The little pin came out, and the hex that goes onto the axle fell off. Now, I did go to my local hobby town and pick up a set of hexes, and now they're on this. Because I got them and they didn't fit directly onto the size of the axle of the FMS, and I was going to mill them out, but brass is pretty soft and malleable. I didn't really want to fuck with it. I didn't really want to create a jig. I had to go to work, so I just ordered the direct part from FMS, and it should be arriving shortly. So I just threw the brass hexes on here, which is going to add a little bit more weight, make this thing just drive just a tad bit better. I even tried to take the nylon nut out of here and mill it out, and it was a shit show. So the things that this thing has going for it, we do have portal axles, so your differential is going to sit higher than the actual bottom of your steering column and like axle assembly. So you're going to have higher ground clearance. This has a 2-speed transmission, so you can switch on the fly in between low gear, which is going to be your crawling gear, neutral, or your trail gear, which is going to be like if you're camping and you're walking down the path and you decide to take this with you, it's going to keep up with your walking pace. It does have a lot better scale detail. The hood does open. This is where your battery is going to be. It's 9,000 milliamps, so I think the longest run time I've gotten out of this thing has been like an hour and 25 minutes. Mostly used it on crawling gear, so I think if you switched into a trail gear, you'd probably get about an hour. You do have 3 different light modes, well, 4 different light modes. No lights, low beams, high beams, and then I think you either have low beams or high beams with the light bar. And I do like the light bar because it does have these yellow kind of like JDM accent lights, which I'm always a fan of. We do have your little roof ladder. I put the Japanese license plate on there because the New York one was fucking whack. These are oil-filled shocks now. I know the first rendition of this vehicle did not come with oil-filled shocks, so it was pretty bouncy. So big upgrade there. The price out the door of this was, I think, about $205. I think they retail for about $180. So all in all, if you're a scale enthusiast, this is going to be your platform, right? But parts are going to be harder to come by. You're going to have to wait for the distributor to get you the parts, which isn't a problem if that's what you're used to, especially if you're used to racing and stuff like that. You already know the deal. Like if you're buying Mugen stuff or shit, even Yokomo stuff, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then with the Traxxas, man, dude, you could throw this thing off a cliff and go to Hobbytown and completely rebuild it the same night. So it's all about what you want, the convenience, and how they drive. Steering radius on this is way better as well. I will say this. It does have a like a stand-up servo, whereas this has a servo that is horizontal on top of the axle, but it has a servo saver. So if you're going to get this, crank the fucking servo saver down, or you're not going to get really any steering angle. And then if you get in hard spots, it's going to just bind. And then also down here, there are some bolts that originally were on this side that you need to flip because they will get in the way of the actual aluminum steering column. So that's all I got to say. I hope you guys enjoy. Always have a good time. Be safe.